starts glowing and the film starts rolling. You wanna be knowing what you might be in for. So give the show a listen and find out what you're missing. Put yourself in position for the easy good score. Dan and Brian, gonna give you the goods. You know we won't be lying. Gonna give you the goods. Masterpiece or trash. Gonna give you the goods. That's why you gotta listen. Gonna give you the goods. Action.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to The Goods, a film podcast. This is episode 257. You with me, Dan?
Here we are, Brian. 257, staying alive.
That's right. Trotting it out once again. Here to discuss a movie. And this time around, we watched a summer film. It is the summertime. We're talking Weekend at Bernie's from 1989. Had you seen this one before, Dan?
No, I've never seen it, but it's one of those movies where you know what the premise is when somebody says it's blank.
We're going to do a Weekend at Bernie's, yeah.
It's not exactly on the level of like, hey, we're going to do a Groundhog Day, or we're going to do an It's a Wonderful Life, or we're going to do a Rear Window, where like, you know, you could take that story template, that concept, and transplant it to other spaces, you know? But it is still a shorthand. It's like a very specific gimmick. I don't know how often it's been riffed on. But it's certainly in the cultural lexicon.
Right. This is the corpse puppet movie.
When you put it that way, I hadn't even thought about it, but it's kind of connected to Swiss Army Man.
I was definitely thinking this time of Swiss Army Man.
Okay.
Yeah, for a couple reasons.
So you had seen it before this week?
Yes. So I first saw this in 2012. So not a super long time ago, but a while ago at this point.
Probably almost half your life ago, Brian.
Yeah, I know. I was visiting my aunt and uncle in California and staying in their RV. And up in the front section of the RV, they had a cabinet with a bunch of DVDs. And so like each night, I would watch at least two movies that I hadn't seen before. And I pulled out Weekend at Bernie's, like, okay, I'll watch this. Because, like you said, I knew it had the reputation of basically being a one-joke movie. That the whole premise is that they've got this dead body that they're trying to convince people is alive. And it surprised me. It impressed me. I mean, it is that. But I think it's got a much better script than would be expected for a one-joke movie.
I'll be interested to see at what angle you come at better script from here, Brian, because I got some thoughts on this one.
Well, I'm curious to hear your thoughts as well. I think you have to be in the right mood to appreciate Weekend at Bernie's, and maybe not everybody is, but I was locked in. It's like I resonated with it, and I think the reason that I resonated with it was because when I was in college, I made a film. It was like my second or third film called Imported. And it was inspired by the story of Sealand. Are you familiar with Sealand?
No. What's this?
Okay, so Sealand is what's called a micronation, which basically means it's disputed territory that some weird guy found and declared a country. But, you know, to really be a country, you have to be recognized by other countries. That's why, like, the Confederacy and the Basque region are not really countries.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to have places acknowledge you. But what Sealand is, and why it's one of the ones that has more of a claim than some of these other territories, is it is a radio platform that was put out in international waters beyond the coast of Britain. Like during World War II, they put this thing out there as like a defense platform, and like it can send and receive signals, and like you could dock a boat there, but it's technically outside of the sovereignty of the United Kingdom. And so in like the 60s, somebody realized, hey, that's technically in international waters. Let's go out there and like pitch a tent and set up a little settlement on this metal platform out in the water. and we can make our own laws and issue our own currency and stuff.
Okay, I think I have read a little bit about this. Isn't it often in dispute when it comes to like copyright laws and stuff? Like people go there to like manipulate laws in their favor when it comes to like being internationally protected or something like that.
I think so. And you can like file for a passport, claim to represent them at sporting events and stuff.
Gotcha.
So it seemed like a fun premise. I'm surprised nobody's made a movie yet. I think there was one called Pirate Radio that was kind of inspired by it. Anyway, that was the jumping off point. I thought this would be cool. Do a comedy about two guys who go and find this like disputed platform out in the water, and they're going to claim it and make a country. And the pair of my characters were named Rob and Simon, and they were inspired by the comic dynamic, I would say, of Bert and Ernie, where one is very serious and one is very laid back, and they're like at loggerheads. And I couldn't crack it. I couldn't write Bert and Ernie gags. I was like having trouble. And so the film, I don't know, it didn't gel the way I wanted it to. And so I made that in like, I guess in 2012. It was when I was in college, senior year of college, and then right after college, I was visiting my aunt and uncle, and I watched this movie, and I was like, "This is the missing leg." It's like this is how it should have been written. This is the dynamic that the characters needed to have, because what I was running into was that the serious stick up his ass character was just totally unlikable. It's like he kept being like mean, and I couldn't make him likable and accessible. And then I watched this movie, and it's like, this is the key.
Okay, so you think this one it cracked the comedy duo chemistry?
I thought so. To the
Yeah.
point that like I would watch these two characters get up to antics if there never was a corpse puppet.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because it really takes almost half the movie for the famous signature gag to kick in. Now, the death happens before then, and there's like, oh my God, this guy died. But it's not until he's dead for a while that they start thinking about it. So I know we're going to walk through it. But to your point that you could imagine these characters without the quote unquote corpse puppet, to use your terminology, your classification. I mean, half this movie is that, you know? So like, I think it does function pretty well. The characters are pretty well defined. It's definitely got the texture of the 80s comedy. I don't know. I kind of want to noodle on what that texture is as we go to. So, for example, let me give a movie that I think has a similar texture. So that's the Tom Hanks film Bachelor Party. So have you seen Bachelor Party?
I've not seen Bachelor Party. Actually, a couple days ago, I watched Splash for the first time ever. So I
Okay.
watched a 80s Tom Hanks movie that I'd never seen before.
There you go. But it's got like a sort of shamelessness about what's the word I'm looking for? Like not the decadence, because it's not like visually decadent, but like in showing its characters imbibing and trying to hook up.
It's like hedonistic.
Yes, that's the word, hedonism. That's the word, exact word I was looking for. It's like a sort of shamelessness around the hedonism. I don't know. I felt like that also interacted with the premise in some interesting ways. So I found this one interesting. So I think we should talk through it.
Yeah, I see some elements of like Great Gatsby here and Mask of the Red Death, where it's like these detached rich people throwing parties.
Right, for sure. Yeah. And I mean, you go one step further, it's like this is where it like I think it verges into interesting satire, and I'm curious how intentional it was. And it almost doesn't matter whether it's intentional or not, but it doesn't matter when the guy dies. Nobody cares that he's dead. It's so like, what was his life if nobody cares that he's dead, you know? And like, how did, like, if somebody, his whole thing was hedonism and indulgence and taking more for himself, and he like essentially lost his soul in that regard. It's like, it's a satire of the hedonistic, yuppie cocaine lifestyle that we associate with 80s media, Miami Vice and Wall Street and all that.
Well said. And while it is like rooted in its time, there are stories with this concept, this central conceit, dating back to like the Arabian Nights. There's a story in the Arabian Nights where a guy dies and people keep encountering the body and assuming they're responsible for the death and like trying to hide it, trying to pass it off on somebody else. Alfred Hitchcock did a movie called The Trouble with Harry, which is similar,
Oh, I haven't seen that one actually.
where there's a corpse that people keep running into.
Interesting.
But yes, let's dive in. This film is centered on two young men who work at an insurance company. So they're low men on the totem pole, and they're just getting started in the corporate white collar life. And one is very serious and one is very slacker. He's take life as it comes. And these are Richard, the uptight one, and Larry, the laid back one.
And these two actors, I'm going to look up their names here. One of them I recognized, and one of them I did not recognize. They're played by Andrew McCarthy, who is the one that I recognized. He's been in a bunch of different things, St. Elmo's Fire and Pretty in Pink. And then Jonathan Silverman, who I guess I actually have seen him in stuff before, but only a couple of times. So I did not recognize him. But I thought they had a good rapport.
I definitely agree. This is set in New York City on like the hottest day of the summer so far. I think they specifically say it's leading up to Memorial Day weekend, right? Because it's a 3 day weekend. It's a 3 day weekend at Bernie's.
You could be right. I know it's a long weekend, yeah. And that would make sense because it's like a party weekend, you know? And Memorial Day, that's when summer's starting.
Right. It opens with the two young guys working, and they go up on the roof of their building because they say they want to go to the beach. They're gonna go to the beach, but really their beach is they have a kiddie pool up on top of the skyscraper. And like they're wading through the molten tar on the top of the hot roof. So I don't know. Already I like they're firing barbs at each other and this weird dynamic of the melted roof, the little pool on the melted roof.
It's a very practical movie, like very physical movie. You get that from what you're talking about, but it's just textbook. They don't make them like they used to anymore. And I know we complain about it a lot, at least I do, but you had to do things like actually do things. So even if you weren't melting a roof, you were like making tar and taking the time to block the shot and set up the stuff for it and light it so that you can see it and then film it and get coverage and have a master shot. But then also, it's just like basic film craft stuff that it feels like it is absent in so many movies nowadays, and it's just so pleasing to look at. I was reflecting on because I read a review someone wrote of the Jim Varney movies. What's that guy's name? Ernest. The Ernest movies, and how they were kind of the same way, maybe like a slightly cheaper version of this, because it really does look like a nice piece of craftsmanship. It's directed by Ted Kotcheff, or I don't know how you say his last name, but I was like, I bet this guy's made real movies. And not to say that Weekend at Bernie's is not a real movie, but I clicked on it, and yeah, he made the first Rambo.
Wow.
He made this movie called Wake in Fright, which I have not seen, but I have heard is really, really good. That came out in 1971, so a while before this. And he's got like a long filmography of real Hollywood works. So
Yeah, like the last half hour of this movie, I was like agog. I was on the edge of my seat, just like you say, how physical it is, that everything is moving. They're going from cars to boats, you know. The parasailing is in Weekend at Bernie's too, but it's the same energy of like things get moving and then they keep moving. It's very kinetic in a way that I respected, and yeah, that they had to physically do all of this. There's no green screen or rear projection. They're driving a little car around an island, dragging a dead guy.
I mean, probably not really a dead guy, but like in universe, a dead guy.
How many Bernies did we
Did they have to
lose
go
in
through?
the production of this film?
That's our third Bernie today we lost.
But while they're up on the roof, Richard, the serious one, is reviewing like the spreadsheets for the company, and he finds a discrepancy. Fraud in the company. Payments made to people they shouldn't have been made to, and the shell game. The money being hidden, being slushed. I'm not an economics major, but misappropriated, unaccounted for.
Yeah, the gist of it is there was like a policy that got paid out twice or something along those lines, but like they fudged the numbers so it was hard to detect that it got paid out twice. It was a very large life insurance policy or something.
Right, and it's thematically fitting because they say it's as if he died twice.
Oh man, I didn't even put that together. There's a lot of little throwaway lines that it's like once you know that it's about a dead guy pretending to be alive, they're like that phrase takes on a morbid element.
I'm surprised they didn't do more of like in the opening of Ghost Dad, when you know it's about a guy who's gonna die, and like 10 times they do fake outs of, oh, this is gonna be what kills him. They really don't do much of that in Weekend at Bernie's. But the young guys, they go to the CEO of the company to report this fraud that they've found, with the thinking that, oh, this is gonna boost their standing at the company because they've identified, money lost.
Right, they're doing something noble.
But it turns out that Bernie is actually behind it all. He's the one doing the embezzling.
Yeah, and it starts when they go to the CEO and they're like, "We found this. Oh, can we talk to Mr. Lomax now? Sure. Oh, here's Mr. Lomax. Hey, Mr. Lomax. Ah, call me Bernie." And then you're like pointing at the camera. You're like, "It's Bernie. It's gonna happen to him. That's the guy." But yes, he's like, "Oh, thank you for finding this." And then yeah, it takes you pretty much know from the start, but then it takes about a scene to be revealed that he's the mastermind of the fraud.
Yeah, because the next scene he's sitting around the table with the gangsters, like UHF, just this trio of crooks who I guess are the mafia or something. And he also knows Hitman, and he says, look, guys, they're on my trail. You got to do something about Richard and Larry. I want you to kill Richard and Larry. And they say, okay, we'll do that. Bernie walks off. Then immediately the gangsters say, we got to kill Bernie because he's the real loose end. And he's a womanizer who's like sleeping with all our girlfriends. So he's the one we got to bump off. So it's a comedy of situational irony. It's people don't know what's really going on. Different characters have different information. And what Bernie proposes to Richard and Larry is that to like talk over this discovery that they've made and what are they going to do about it, they should all spend the weekend at Bernie's at this beachside mansion that he has in the Hamptons. So what'd you think of this house, Dan?
Yeah, so they have to get out to this house, and before they do that, there's one of the two guys, the Bert of the Bert and Ernie, meets this pretty intern at the office and dates her, and she's like, "Oh, I'm going away with my parents for the weekend, and then I'm done with my internship." He's like, "Oh, rats!" And then what do you know? She's going to be somewhere around the rest of the action too. But
Yeah,
anyways,
her parents live on this bougie island.
right. But yeah, so then they go to this house, and it's this pretty cool piece of set design. It's like this glass mansion with like these huge ocean vistas and this wide open natural light windows and like this busy but gaudy interior with like nice staircases and cool furniture and like typewriters that were cutting edge in the 80s and are now like cool vintage and stuff. it's a cool place to just like hang out. Like what one of the reasons I talked about why I loved Forgetting Sarah Marshall is you just get to hang out in Hawaii and like a cool resort in Hawaii. And this has a lot of that too. It's like, yeah, I'm in the Hamptons too in this weekend with Bernie's.
Good call. Yeah, so it's got like a conversation pit and a big bar, and it's just floor to ceiling glass, so the sunlight comes in, and people are constantly filtering in and out.
Right. So like someone will walk in and be like, "Hey, Bernie, let's close that deal you were talking about." Or like, "Bernie, when's the party starting?"
You know what it also kind of made me think of was The Swimmer,
Hmm.
where it's like these, these middle-aged people drifting through their lives in this upper class milieu, but are they making connections? Are they really who they say they are?
Mm-hmm.
Little
Yeah.
bit of that.
The Office actually a little bit had me thinking of some of the Office movies that we've seen, like The Apartment, because it's also this like kind of big overwrought office building that's crammed together, and there's a big emphasis on the elevators, which is what made me think of The Apartment.
Feel like The Apartment might be up there in terms of most referenced movies on the podcast. I don't know. We got to feed it through the AI and get like a tally of what if we name drop the most. Feel like The Apartment gets it a lot. It is a good film.
It's no Christmas at Elmo's, or what's the Elmo Christmas one
Elmo
called?
Saves Christmas.
Yeah, did you know that there is a guy who has commented 3 times on our Elmo Saves Christmas YouTube video, but not like 3 times while he or she was clearly listening once, but like 2 months apart between each comment, which means they're either very much spacing out the listen or coming back to hear our Elmo Saves Christmas coverage. So whoever you are out there, thank you for listening to us.
Man. So this is a tangent, but as I've said a few times on the podcast, you get 257 episodes in and you end up diving deep to avoid repeating yourself. I had a video that I uploaded to YouTube that was a song excised from a Christmas VHS tape called Baby Songs Christmas. And specifically, it was a rendition of the Wassel song. Here we come, a wassailing among the leaves so green. But it was like a puppet performance of the Wassel song.
Hmm.
So I uploaded this, and somebody started commenting on it and like having a conversation with themselves. And it went on for like 14 months.
Oh my gosh.
Like there were 100 comments in this thread of just the account talking to themselves. And actually, I'm glad that Andrew and Isaiah on their radio show preserved this because on one of their Christmas episodes, they talked about the discussion thread because eventually it got deleted. And I don't know what happened, but you can't go and read this schizophrenic thread anymore. But there is a recording of them discussing it. What are we talking about?
We were talking about, the set design in this movie. So you praised the house, and then I brought up the office, which brought us to the apartment.
Yes, yes. And just this beach resort town is pretty impressive. And yeah, blue skies. So it's this beautiful place that we're going to have this dark comedy unfolding in.
You know how if you go to Wikipedia and you type in the movie or whatever it is you're looking up, and it'll give you the title of the article and then like a 1 sentence subhead summary. I think it says a black comedy film. So I guess that's appropriate.
I think so. So Bernie gets to the island. Richie and Larry are coming. They both have things that they expect will happen on the island. And both of their expectations will be dashed because the hitman comes to the island. This hitman, I only realized watching it this time, he's played by the actor who was the embalmer in Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, okay.
The actor's name is Don Calfa or Caffa, Calfa. But he has a distinctive face. He's got these big bulging eyes. And he's there, Bernie thinks, to kill Richie and Larry, but he's actually come to kill Bernie. So like Bernie is walking him through the house He like turns around, looks away for a second, and Polly pulls out a syringe that I guess has heroin in it or something. It doesn't really matter what's in it. It's poison, or it's enough to be poisonous. And he jabs it into like Bernie's thigh.
You know it's coming because you're not watching Weekend at Bernie's without knowing what Weekend at Bernie's is. And it just happens so abruptly because the hitman's like, hey, what's that over there? And Bernie goes, huh? And then he jabs him. And then Bernie goes immediately into the pose that he's going to have for the rest of the movie.
Which is this goofy smile and open eyes, but under a pair of sunglasses.
Kind of like a rigor mortis almost type pose because there's like a rigidity to it, but not entirely.
Right, because we got to have a couple possibilities to really give this premise legs. You got to stretch it, you got to spread it. And he slumps in his chair. Then a little while later, the guys walk in, Richie and Larry. And it takes them, 30 seconds or whatever. It takes them a little bit because at first they say, "Oh, he's asleep. You got to wake him up." But they can't wake him up. And they determine he's dead.
And they find the drugs in his pocket. So I don't know. Are they assuming that he had OD'd?
I guess so.
They don't really say anything
Yeah,
about
they,
it.
they don't really delve into how did he die? Why did he die? Because quickly there are complicating factors. It's like this is the 3-day weekend that's starting up, and Bernie's house is the party house, I guess. Everybody comes to Bernie's. It seems this was what really had me thinking of The Swimmer is they go from house to house. Everybody kind of does like a pub crawl from house to house to house. And like all the doors are always open to random people walking in. And yeah, a bunch of people come drifting into the house, and Richie and Larry are like, "Well, what do we do? We don't want to be blamed for Bernie dying. We didn't expect this was going to happen."
Part of the achievement of this film is that it goes sufficiently far in convincing you that these characters are acting semi-rationally given the circumstances. It's like in the scenario that they're in, the decision that they made was not just completely arbitrary and for the purposes of setting up Weekend at Bernie's. I'm not saying they made good decisions, but like within the confines of the scenario that they're in.
Well said. Yes, the screenwriters went in knowing they had to arrive at Corpse Puppet. How do you get there? And it's a miracle that it's as grounded as it is.
And I think that's part of the, again, intentional or unintentional, I'm not sure, satire, where it's like, not only does it speak to the fact that nobody cares if Bernie himself is alive or dead, like it doesn't impact anybody's interaction with Bernie except these two guys, but it's also just like an indictment on the party culture that like the natural thing to do is just like let this man's soul leave his body and just be a corpse lying around the party, and like that's what you got to do. That's where this party takes you.
And then, yeah, in the backdrop of it all, what are they going to do with Bernie? There's the various island civilians coming in to party, and also this love interest for Richard, the uptight one. That there's this attractive young woman works at the office. There's the ticking clock that she's gonna, move away, and he needs to kind of come out of his shell and connect with this woman. Meanwhile, Weekend at Bernie's is happening. So yeah, I don't know. The various threads, I appreciated the way that they keep it moving. It's like they're always, okay, well, what do we do with Bernie next? It's like, let's move him here, and he'll like fall off the balcony into the sand, and then the tide will come in and take Bernie out. So that then when they're having their like lighthouse date, he washes up next to the lighthouse. And just I could tell that they storyboarded it all out. How do we do all this? I thought the woman was Elizabeth Shue from Adventures in Babysitting. It's not, though. She just looks a lot like her. Her name is Catherine Mary Stewart.
Yeah, I was with you. I was like, I think I know who she is, but no, it wasn't who I thought it was. Probably Elizabeth Shue. Yeah, Catherine Mary Stewart. She's got these big, expressive blue eyes, and then that coiffed 80s
Yeah,
haircut.
she has the mane of 80s hair.
I saw somebody speculating online that hair like that would still be popular or would have had more of a resurgence, but it's so dependent upon aerosol hairspray that now you cannot commercially produce because of regulations about the ozone layer.
Wow.
So it's infeasible for this type of haircut to come back in style.
It's extinct.
And as all this is happening, there's just lots of like one-off gags where he's getting posed in a certain way such that it looks like he's gesturing or yes or no or like shrugging someone off or looking the other way or like leaning into someone. Just repeated gags, little throwaway gags. And I've heard this movie being accused of being a one joke movie. I don't think that's right. It's like, but it's variations on a single premise, basically. It's like you're kind of pushing every angle of what that premise could be and like trying to extract every joke from it.
Right. It's like they have the one premise, come up with 500 jokes.
Right. And there's a lot of good ones. It's not just the oh, they pull a string and the arm goes up so it looks like he's waving. That to me is like the quintessential Weekend at Bernie's thing. But there's even stuff where like okay, during the party he like gets caught on the beach and then he's in the tide and one of the guys is making out with one of the girls and then it's just shot so perfectly. The corpse floats in with the tide. Shot is completely still, and then the guy gets like bug eyes when he sees the corpse floating in.
That's the exact shot I was thinking of when I said you could tell that they storyboarded it.
Yeah,
One of the dialogue exchanges that I think encapsulates the dynamic of the characters is really early on when they go and they're talking to Bernie the first time to report the fraud. He asks them, "How long have you been working here?" Richard says, 19 months and a week. Larry says, "I'm not really sure." But the ruse seems to be working. Nobody detects that Bernie is dead. It has the Clerks thing where a woman comes in and has sex with the corpse. That happens.
yeah. I was thinking about this one. Unfortunately, I was thinking about this one, and I don't know. Like, we don't need to get it too much into the biology here, but like the woman seemed like it was thoroughly pleasured. Like this was a very satiric moment, like for me. It's like, okay, we're talking about the shallowness of relationships here, but I didn't understand why this woman would have felt satisfied in that moment of her relationship with this dead body.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the at least Clerks explains it a little bit. The rigor mortis principle. I don't know. According to that, they say that it can work to create a posthumous erection. That's the extent of it.
I guess that's what it's going for here too, then, right?
I think so.
Okay.
But whether that would be satisfying, I think that is more of a, I don't know. That's more of a philosophical, metaphysical question. Different strokes for different folks, I guess.
I guess. I think we might be beyond the veil when we're talking about different strokes for different
That's
folks.
yeah, that's what they put on Jeffrey Dahmer's tombstone as different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
But the other thing that happens is because Bernie is seeming so lively, the assassin thinks that he's failed and has to keep hanging around.
Right? He gets glimpses through the window of Bernie being like this way or that way, or like, oh, his girlfriend's in the room with him, so Bernie must still be alive.
And so he's growing more and more unhinged because he thinks he keeps killing Bernie. It's like Bernie falls off the balcony and lands on him and they wrestle around and he thinks he strangles him to death. And things like that keep happening.
Oh, we need a crossover with Puss in Boots 2, where the wolf comes in and Bernie gets 9 lives.
I don't think we're ever going to shake Shrek. It's burned into our DNA now.
Still in the hangover period.
We're we're steeped in Shrek. Man, I saw Kool-Aid pickles for sale, where like instead of vinegar, you put them in Kool-Aid.
What did that make you feel?
Some kind of way. I guess horrified but intrigued. I suppose I would try one.
Was the connection, the leap there using the term steeped in Shrek? And somehow that triggered Kool-Aid pickles?
Yes, just that it would is soak into you, so that it's more than just skin deep. It's like part of your essence to have the Shrek molecules. It's a chemical change, not just a physical one.
Okay. You can't just wash it off.
Right, you're
You can't
never
cleanse
gonna
yourself.
you're
Yeah.
never gonna be the same. Eventually, they determine that Bernie was trying to kill them. They like hear a answering machine, which this is kind of like The Room to me. It's like, how did this conversation end up getting recorded? Because it's not a message that was left. It's Bernie talking to the assassin on the phone, and somehow they're able to play it back.
Yeah, I didn't quite get it. I was like, yeah, why is this recorded? Because exactly what you said. He's calling someone else. That's not how voicemails work.
Maybe this is another instance of like, if you lived in the 80s, you could understand what's happening here.
No, see, what you would do is you would hit the triangle button on your voicemail by accident when you were trying to get the rotary to the other guy. And then what would happen is you'd accidentally overwrite your old voicemail and hear yourself talking.
And you could wind it back in with a pencil.
I have another thought about Bernie that becomes more pronounced when we get to the second movie.
That tells me that you watched Weekend at Bernie's too, which makes me very happy.
I did.
Good.
So when you die, you don't become a mannequin. You still, like, bones can break, your body can, the integrity of it can be compromised. And yet, like, Bernie takes a pretty bad beating throughout this and still is whole enough to be played by a human actor.
That's true. So I think there's only one night in this story. He dies on Friday. Friday night happens. The next morning, Larry's got him strung up as the puppet. They have that whole next day, and I think everything resolves by the end of the day on Saturday.
Okay, so he's been dead for less than 24 hours, so not a lot of decomposition would have occurred.
That's my thinking. But yes, still to your point, they're whacking him and dropping him and dragging him. So I would expect some disincorporation. There are fly sound effects by the second day. So there's antics that I guess Larry and Richie assume that the hitmen may still be after them because they hear this recording. And they don't know that the hitmen decided actually it was Bernie they wanted to kill. So there's in this like final act of the film, there's a lot of running and driving and boating, and it's all just excuses to have physical antics for Bernie to do. Really run him through the ringer, and I liked it a lot. I don't know. I liked the physicality of it, as you said. Because, yeah, the guy shows up, the assassin, and he's like trying to still kill Bernie, who he thinks is alive. And Richie and Larry are running from that guy. And you just gotta watch it. It's like, this is something that it doesn't totally benefit from a plot summary. It's, you talk about the energy, talk about the craft. That's what we're here to do today.
Yeah, there's just like a lot of little moments where they spend some time thinking about how do you make this scene pop a little bit. One that made me laugh pretty hard is I think it's the last time the assassin tries to take him out is he swings open the door of the house. They've just got back in the house, and the assassin sees Bernie, and his face gets big. He's like, "You," because Bernie's still doing the sitting up pose with the sunglasses on, so it looks like he's alive, and starts shooting him a whole bunch of times, and then gets like this crazed look on his face, like, "I've done it," like as if he hadn't already been dead for 16 hours or whatever at this point. And then, of course, everybody's just standing right there too, like watching this unfold. The two guys and the girlfriend.
Right. So this gives them an out because it's like, okay, well, if nothing killed him before, this is clearly, here's a guy standing here shooting Bernie.
Right. That's another thing is like I said, you can semi-rationally defend or like at least explain their actions, but they're also fairly sympathetic in this one. Like they're the good guys. It's like they didn't kill anyone. They're not actively trying to exploit him. They're just trying to figure out what to do to like not get in trouble and not throw their lives out of whack. And yeah, sure, they make a couple of selfish decisions. We're like, well, this would ruin the vibe of the party, or like this would ruin my chance with the girl. So like, let's just call the police in a half hour because right now the corpse isn't harming anyone. Which, okay, now that I'm saying it out loud, it does start to sound like maybe they're not that sympathetic. But again, they're not trying to actively exploit Bernie. So I think that's another important thing that makes this movie function.
Yeah.
And it's another thing that I felt changed when we went from 1 to 2.
Well, I'm getting excited to talk about two. So the driving of the boat, they're just whipping around this little marina, and I wanted to shout out. So there's various extras and people crowd filling the town and the various boats. And at one point, Larry's driving the boat and crashes into another boat. And from a third boat, there's this onlooker who just looks over mildly disinterested and says, "That's illegal. What you're doing is illegal." And if you only get one line in a movie, that you could do worse than that delivery.
Yeah.
So the cops show up and they arrest Paulie, the assassin. Case closed. It all is neat and tidy, put away. Oh, this guy killed Bernie. You shot him with a gun. And they load Bernie up on an ambulance. And it's like, well, everything worked out. And, Richard connects with the young woman, and she actually invites him to spend the week at her family's house, which is also on the island. And so then Larry is like, he gets to crash at Bernie's some more.
Yeah, he gets his swanky life too.
Bachelor pad. But as they're like congratulating each other and the credits are rolling, Bernie, the gurney, Bernie on the gurney comes rolling out of the back of the ambulance and like plows through everything again, and he plops out on the beach, and the kid starts burying him in the sand.
Yeah, you could kind of go through this movie and just describe the antics like one at a time, and like because most of them are pretty well designed. Like I said, they make them pop. One that I was thinking of when you were describing the boat scene is another one, and I think it's in the first one. There's some water shenanigans in the second one, but I think it's the first one where they're dragging him, and it's like he's a water skier, but he's kind of fallen down, and so he's just like like his body's kind of flailing with the tide, the rip tide, and they haven't realized. So he's like tied up, so he's connected to the boat, but he's dangling behind it. And they haven't realized he's fallen off the boat yet. And then they start hearing this. It's this really good sound effect. It's like a dung, dung, dung. Like, what is that sound? Do you hear it? Dung. And then they turn and they look, and he's like clonking up against these like little pier rods or something that are like in the water. And I don't know, the sound effect itself made me laugh pretty hard.
Yeah. The editing is good. So you got the rapport that the actors have, and the way that this sequence is put together of you see, we know that Bernie's getting dragged, hitting the buoys, and then just the way it's all cut together to show the characters gradually becoming aware of what's happening. Pretty slick. And that's Weekend at Bernie's 1.
All right, let me just opine on one or two more things here on Weekend at Bernie's, and then we can go to Weekend at Bernie's 2. So just to elaborate a little more on my theory of what this movie is quote unquote about. So like I said, it's Bernie doesn't have meaning even when he loses his soul. It's like, what does that say? There's something like inherently rotten, like just morally rotten about this. And yet we're like engaging with it as a comedy, as like a physical comedy. And so there's like this weird, I don't know, like something's just not right here. And to me that's reflective of like the sort of the hedonism of the culture described, that it doesn't matter whether or not Bernie is anyone, you know? As long as he's the one providing the booze, as long as he's the one with the cool house, the one with the money and the stuff. But then I thought of another idea of like a way you could interpret this is like the death of Bernie is not yet immediately understood and perceived by the people around him, and yet it's going to ultimately cast a pall on this party, on this house, on this scene when it gets discovered, because there's really a darkness and a death at the heart of this party. So then I was like, okay, well, what could that be then? And then I was thinking, well, what did cause the hedonism of the 80s to die out? Well, there were economic factors.
Is it about AIDS?
So Bernie is AIDS. That's my other in reading of Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, that also goes with my Mask of the Red Death thing, where
Okay.
it's like the wealthy party is undone by a plague.
Okay.
Have you read Mask of the Red Death?
I have actually I was just reading some Poe, but I actually have not read that one. But
Okay.
I was looking it up in the table of contents. It's not too long. I could probably
Yeah, it's quite short, but
yeah.
I mean that's the gist of it. Is there's a plague going on in like sometime in the Middle Ages, and this duke invites all his courtiers, and they're like, "We're gonna quarantine at my palace, and we're not gonna let in the riffraff." And they have this party, for like months on end of just we're gonna party here in this place where it's safe, and the contagion gets in somehow in the form of this personification of the disease shows up at the party in the masquerade like Phantom of the Opera,
Okay.
and then everybody dies. So it's like they're not really safe. Their revelry is going to be undone.
Okay, yeah. I can see
The bubble is going to get pierced.
right. One last thing, and this also connects to two. We have not said, but throughout this whole thing, the actor Terry Kaiser is playing Bernie. So there might be some shots and scenes where it's like a mannequin, but the real actor is still playing it. So I was, of course, thinking of Swiss Army Man and Daniel Radcliffe's remarkable performance in that film. This one doesn't go to quite so many places with the actor himself, but I was still kind of admiring it.
Good call. Yeah, he's got to play dead, but convincingly enough alive to perpetrate this ruse. And so, how do you follow up a movie that's all based around a single premise, and you've thought up every joke you could think of to run it out to feature length? What do you do? Well, in 1993, they made Weekend at Bernie's 2, which I think has been a punchline just in its own right, because how do you do Weekend at Bernie's
Right.
2?
Seems impossible.
The tagline on the poster is Bernie's back and he's still dead, which is horrible. It's like, who said put that on the poster?
I mean, it answers some questions because they're like, how is he still dead? Like, how could you do this again? Oh, yeah, he's back and he's still dead. Okay. Well,
I found out that this existed later and was kind of surprised. I knew before I popped it in that it was going to involve zombies and voodoo, which I think it may be better if you go in not knowing that that's what's going to happen.
I did not know this and I was agog, to use your word.
Who did you say the Bernie's actor? What his name?
Terry Kaiser, I think.
Terry Kaiser must have said, "Look, if we do this damn thing again, I gotta have the opportunity to move. Like, you gotta let me show what I can do. You gotta let me use my stuff and not just lie there." And this was the Faustian pact that was struck. It starts out exactly where 1 ends. So we got some Halloween 2 stuff going on here.
Right.
Or what was the one we just recently were watching one where we said, "Oh, it's like Halloween 2."
Is it Shrek 2 to Shrek 3? I can't remember. No, I don't think it is.
No, I think it was Rudolph's Shiny New Year.
Oh, yeah.
Zan said it's the same night as the pivotal Christmas in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That like immediately they roll into looking for Baby New Year.
No rest for the weary.
So it starts out with this like animated sequence of Larry and Richie like chasing the ambulance, and Bernie keeps rolling out of the ambulance, and they keep putting him back in over the credits sequence, opening credits. It reminded me a little of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Mm-hmm.
Has something like this. It also had me thinking of Bill and Ted. Like I don't know. They wanted this to kind of have the feeling, I think, of a Bill and Ted, but it's different than that. Bill and Ted does not have a corpse. Bill and Ted has time travel and like interdimensional stuff, so it's more out there and less of a black comedy. But there are two white slacker buddies in the 80s. I guess my point is there was a Bill and Ted cartoon, and the cartoon kind of looked like this cartoon.
I'm trying to remember, was that part of the movie itself, or was that a
No, it was
spin-off?
not. It was after the fact, but it did have the cast, like even Keanu Reeves and George Carlin.
Oh, wow.
But after the cartoon finishes, they are at the morgue to identify the body. I rewatched this one today. I had seen it like a year ago, and I kind of had it on in the background a little bit. I feel like the plot is even more convoluted in this one, and so I may have lost some things, but the gist I got is the events of Weekend at Bernie's 1 did not fully resolve everything because there's still the question of, well, wait a minute. What about all that money that Bernie stole? It's like there's $2 million unaccounted for, and so now people are looking to pick up the pieces.
Right. Which you're like, okay, that good point. Someone was like, okay, let me think about Weekend at Bernie's 1 and where it ended. And are there any loose threads we can tug at here?
Right. And so this movie, Weekend at Bernie's, was directed by Ted Kotcheff. It was written by Robert Klane. Weekend at Bernie's 2 is written and directed by Robert Klane.
Clean all the way.
Mr. Klane knew the lore. He knew the repercussions and was invested in this saga. But like Richie and Larry come home and they're tied up in this now of like the company says, "Okay, well, where's the money?" And they're kind of like on the hook for it. I don't know if they'd actually be on the hook for it, but there are people who suspect them of being involved in the fraud.
Which fair. Like they discovered this money lost. They went and they partied with Bernie. Bernie died, and then they start acting all fishy when the guy's like, "Well, do you know where the actual money is since you were doing the accounting on it?" And they're like, I don't know. And, okay, well, we have decided it's not good for us to continue to employ you. Oh, we're fired. What did we do? And I don't know. I was kind of on the side of the corporation. It's like, these guys are trouble. Where they go, dead CEOs follow.
True. Fair point. And so this is kind of like a M by Fritz Lang thing where there's two groups who are after the money, and one is the company and the other is the gangsters from the first one, except they're connected to, well, okay. There's there's a few steps to zombies, but I guess it's that they determined that there's a safety deposit box that Bernie had that's down in the US Virgin Islands. So it's going to be a beach again, but it's a Caribbean beach. It's not a New England Jaws beach. It's down in the Caribbean, which means that there are black people for the first time.
Yes, good point.
Bernie had this safety deposit box down there. Ostensibly his treasure, his ill-gotten gains are down there. And so the gangsters call a voodoo priestess, and she sets her two lackeys to go after the money via zombifying Bernie. He's like, well, we know that Bernie is the only one who knows where the treasure is, and so you need to bewitch him, revive him as a revenant.
With your voodoo magic. Yeah.
Yes.
Got a lot of questions here. So, one, you can bring people back from the dead. I feel like there are other uses of this magic. Like, why is the first time we're hearing about this that Bernie's going to come back to life?
Good point. I mean, you could just sell resurrections and
Right.
make your living that way. Man, now I'm wondering. It's like Bernie is suddenly this figure of fate. He's like the chosen one that everything revolves around. In my head, I picture that this island they're at is the same island that Hannibal Lecter ends up on at the end of Silence of the Lambs when he like walks off into the crowd of vacationers.
Okay.
I feel like Bernie walking by in the end credits of two, he probably passed Hannibal Lecter in the crowd.
Maybe that's the old friend that Hannibal Lecter is having for dinner.
I'm pretty sure it's Chilton, the asylum guard, who like gave him a hard time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's who he's following. But maybe he also met up with Bernie. So in some ways, two repeats beats of one in that, oh, we're gonna go have the vacation on the island setting. Like I think they could have put it somewhere that wasn't an island. The voodoo thing is definitely different, but like they're repeating the same mise en scène in some ways.
Yeah, it would have been interesting if it was a different setting, not just at the beach again, like the Wild West or I don't know, so somewhere else. I guess they had already done the city because they started the movie in the city.
Right. The actors came back, which is never a given. I mean, look at like Short Circuit 2 or something. Any 80s 2, you're not always going to get the full cast back.
Right,
The young woman is not back.
right. I was gonna say the three main leads didn't, but the woman didn't come back so that we can have more ogling of ladies and romantic tensions and hookup attempts.
Right.
Although the main love interest this time goes with the Ernie character, not the Bert character.
Yeah. And I wonder about that because Larry is like as crude and off-putting as ever in this film. Like it makes sense to have the angle be, oh, let's have him, get somewhere. But he just, I don't know, he seems a little detestable. The voodoo goons resurrect Bernie such that he moves around, but only when music is playing. And if the music stops, he collapses again and is dead totally. And if the music is going, he gets up and does this shuffle dance. And they determine that he's slowly making his way towards where the money is, which I guess is the spell that was cast. But a lot of shuffling and bobbing his head.
So there's more to this to it. It's not just that they partially revive him, but it's like a comedy of errors of these voodoo guys are bumbling around and they steal the corpse and somehow they end up in like an adult theater and they're part of their voodoo spells they need to sacrifice a chicken or something, but like they lose the chicken and someone in the adult theater gets it, so they're like, oh, we'll just sacrifice a pigeon instead, which is the same thing as a chicken, right? This all happens very fast and it doesn't give you time to process it. It raises more questions than it answers as it happens. But the idea is like and then they like the water they're using is like toilet water from a bathroom for the spell or something. So like they're doing a bad version of the revival spell. So yes, he's only like partially revived.
It's like in Frankenstein when they grab the abnormal brain. Like, I didn't tell you to grab that brain.
Yeah. And yeah, so he can only dance and party. That's the only thing he can do. So when music's coming on, the party, it's time to party. So let's talk about this effect of when the music comes on, Brian. How would you describe what's happening here?
I like it a lot. So I feel like the name keeps rolling off my brain. Kaiser, Terry Kaiser must have auditioned this or something. Like, look what I can do. Please work this in because I can't just be dead for another feature film.
Flopping
I
around,
need
yeah.
more. I need more. So watch this. And then he did this, and they're like, okay, we got a movie. Because what he'll do is he'll start, lying down, and then he'll like wiggle his legs, wiggle his buttocks, and eventually become upright and stand up and get into this dancing pose of the waggling his head and shoulders and zombie marching forward. But the magic is in the getting up each time.
Yeah, it's got to have some core strength to do this
Yeah, I was impressed.
because it looks like a string is pulling him up.
Also, they'll do a thing where they keep putting him in like boxes and things or tying him up, and he'll dance out of the containment. And it'll like happen in the background while conversations are going on. Music will start playing, and then the Bernie will rise.
And I feel like they knew they needed to push the jokes a little bit further. I feel like they were even harder on Bernie's corpse this time.
Yes, hence the parasailing, where instead of water skiing, now he's bouncing off the coconut trees, flying through the air.
And somehow, and again, this happens in like one scene, so it's not exactly clear what the motivations are. I think that's one thing that's a little lost in this. But the guys decide because they've been fired, they're going to try to retrieve the $2 million or however much it was for themselves. So they're going down to the Virgin Islands with Bertie. That's like so they're not just like, all right, I need to get out of this terrible situation. They're like, now no, Bernie is ours, and we're gonna go use him to get ourselves rich.
Right, they're actively participating now, actively after the money. And I guess the determination that they make is, well, they look at the records again, they find out that this safety deposit box exists, and they're like, well, who could claim something from Bernie's safety deposit box? Well, Bernie could. So let's take him down there, we'll do our puppet show, and we'll get the money. And they don't even know yet that he can do this zombie shtick. They're just like, well, we're old hands at this by this point. We can convince anybody that Bernie's alive. So let's take him down there. And okay, so I want to describe my first experience watching this movie like a year or maybe 2 years ago. I guess you know what it was I in graduate school took a television writing class of like how do you write television shows, take the time to write television shows, and re-envisioned, readapted, imported as a TV script and wrote 4 episodes of imported as a show and rewatched Bernie at that point, learned that Bernie 2 existed and watched that as well. And I was middling on it, which the reputation of Weekend at Bernie's 2 is not good.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it's kind of funny. Like the dancing is a good gimmick, but it's like, did this movie need to get made? Is it really the same thing as the first one? Or is it just this wacky, fool's errand to even do this weird thing? But when I came around was in the like final 20 minutes of this movie, there's this sequence where they get Bernie going, they bring him to life, but Richie and Larry know how he works now. Play the music and he'll go. And so they put a Walkman on him and he marches out into the sea. Just this perfectly clear blue water. And he's marching along the bottom of the sea. And he passes by a touring submarine. And they're following him after him underwater. So Richie and Larry in scuba gear and, trying to dodge this tour submarine full of people. And Terry Kaiser is walking along the bottom of the water
He's doing his little wiggle dance as he walks.
for like an extended time, like 15, I don't know. It goes on, and it's like he had to really go and do this.
I wasn't sure how they filmed this.
It's incredible.
Did he like take a deep breath and then they shot for 60 seconds? Or did he have like a tube that you can't see?
Yeah, I wonder if they had like somebody off camera had like a tank that they could give to him in between. It would not be easy. Like this took some thinking through. And then they build on it because Larry and Richie are having an argument or something, and Larry shoots a spear gun through Bernie's head. So now he's got an arrow totally through his head. It looks pretty convincing.
Yeah, the rest of the movie now, just whenever Bernie's anywhere, he's got to have, because you can't pull it out because brains would start oozing out. So now he's just got the rest of the movie. He's got a harpoon sticking through there.
Right, and it's like he grabbed the treasure chest on the bottom of the water, and now they've got him, out to shore, and they got to get. I don't know exactly where they got to get. I did kind of lose the plot a little bit at points, but the key is they need to get going. And so they hitch reins, like horse reins, onto his head arrow and tie him to a horse cart. And so now Bernie is shuffle marching them through the town, pulling a cart tied to his head arrow. And the execution of this is like, I was totally on board. I love this. This justifies the film for me. This is the raison d'etre. And then it's like he goes over a hill and suddenly he's lifted off the ground and the rickshaw is plowing through the little village, just crashing through vendor stalls, and Bernie is getting all wrenched around and Larry and Richie can't control it. It's like, this is the promise of the premise, I guess.
And somehow they end up with the money. I wasn't quite sure exactly how they did. Because, okay, so the corporate spy, not even a spy, he's like the guy who, after they fired him, is like, yeah, you need to keep an eye on these two because they're probably going to try to steal that $2 million. So then this guy, and he's essentially the antagonist because they're trying to dodge him even though they don't detect him at first. I'm like, it is the company's money, to be fair, and they are going after it, to be fair. So he's not really a bad guy. He's like, things are constantly getting in his way when he's trying to spy on them.
Yeah, he's in the Pauly position in this movie where he gets gradually more and more unhinged as he's pursuing them.
Right.
And he's played by Barry Bostwick. I feel like I've said this before on the podcast, but maybe I haven't.
Pepsi commercial.
Okay, yes. So I guess I did.
You can say it again.
Once upon a time, there was a commercial in like the year 2000 where, so it was Pepsi with lemon, and it's like, it's not Pepsi, it's Pepsi with lemon. And I'm not Holly Berry, I'm Barry Bostwick. And the guy says, who is Barry Bostwick? So I always think about that if I ever hear his name come up, is who is Barry Bostwick?
It's a good name to say, yeah. They basically bump into this guy when they get the big container of money, and then does he get like arrested or something like that? And so they end up with the money, but it seems like they end up with the money somehow.
Yeah. So my understanding of it is there's like a little bit of shell game stuff where you see Larry shoving some money to the side, putting some of the money back in the suitcase. And then there's a conversation at the very end where Richie's like, well, it's too bad we had to give the $2 million back. And Larry says, well, it would be if I hadn't discovered that Bernie actually took $3 million. And so now they have this, I guess, totally unaccounted for $1 million. And they sail off on a yacht. So it's like, I guess some of the money went back to the company and they got some of the money, and the thugs sent by the Voodoo Queen, they didn't pull off their mission, and so they get turned into goats And so the final shot of the movie is Bernie is marching along with the goats on a leash.
And it's like essentially carnival. It's like there's a whole crowd's beating drums and it's a big parade. And then you have Corpse Bernie like doing his Jack Skellington walk through there.
And it really does have the feeling of the last shot of Silence of the Lambs, where it's this pullout on a big partying crowd of some festival on a Caribbean island.
Oh, and he's walking with the goats too. That's the thing. So my reaction to this movie is insane and ridiculous. And I think it was the right choice to make it insane and ridiculous. It's going to be diminishing returns no matter what. So you may as well go for a stupid broke and like do wacky ideas. Like, oh, it turns out he gets cursed with a dancing curse that if he hears music, it becomes a dancing corpse. And also there's voodoo, which I guess is the cause of it. And also there's like a treasure map that takes him underwater. And yeah, just like piling on the shenanigans to heightened levels while still maintaining maybe not quite the same crystalline production, but enough of it that it's engaging. And the credits are rolling by minute 83 or something like that.
Yeah, it's svelte. It's fleet-footed, reasonably. In Weekend at Bernie's 1, they have this little car that they drive. That it's like a golf cart car. I don't know what make and model this vehicle is, but I want one. It's tailor-made for shenanigans.
More things in life should be tailor-made for shenanigans.
Yes, I think that's kind of the thesis statement here. So, Dan, are we ready to say, is it good?
Sure. Let's do it. Is it good is our signature section where we each give the movie a rating on our 8-point goodness scale, ranging from very not good, which would be a 1 out of 8, to our masterpiece rating toward a good, which would be an 8 out of 8. So I will go first on Weekend at Bernie's. Is Weekend at Bernie's good? And like that sentence right there is just, it's already an absurd sentence.
We've arrived. Every decision we've made up till now has led us to this point.
It was a meme that it's sort of a meme, like a joke, I guess you call it, an inside joke that me and my wife would do to each other, which is like when something minorly bad happens, like you are the first one to not make a green light, you have to stop at a red light. You like turn to the other one and say, I regret every decision I've made that has led me to this point. Or because it has led me to this point. And I shared this with my coworker, and now he says that to me all the time. Like when something minorly annoying happens at work, he says, I regret every decision because it has led me to this point. So am I saying I regret every decision because it has led me to the point where I must answer, is Weekend at Bernie's good? No, I'm not saying that. But I do think Weekend at Bernie's is good. I came in very solidly at a 5, and just thinking about it and talking through it, I almost want to go up to a 6. It's very good. I'm going to still land at a 5 just for now, just to be conservative, but like a high-end 5 that could bump up to a 6 if I sit with it or if I watch the movie again. I think it's a very solid and sneaky, satirical, smart maybe not smart, but like makes you think at least. I don't know, almost forces you to engage with the setting and the world in which it takes place, but also is just like a shenanigan, tightly scripted and constructed little piece of wacky 80s comedy. Bleak, black comedy. Like, you're remembering this premise, but I don't know. It's good. I think it is a good movie. What about you, Brian?
Nice. I really like this one. So this was my third time watching it, and it didn't shine quite as brightly, but I still am remembering the first time that I popped it in the DVD player, and it really worked for me. I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 8. Exceptionally good. Just I am so impressed with how it pulls off turning that one idea, that one joke, to hang so many gags on it and have them work, and yeah, to think through the script to kind of almost make it plausible, and really to make you like these two guys. And so that was the trick that I hadn't managed to pull off in 2012 when I made my short film. And it's like, okay, well, there's something here. Something is here that works. And they went and they did the dang thing. The island is a great setting, and the house that they found. And so, yeah, they planned it out. They got all the shots they needed to get. They put them together just so. And for the most part, the gags hit. You know, it's very of its time. And yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a Weekend at Bernie's fan.
One question that I considered, but I didn't come up with a definitive answer is, would this movie be better if it was more thoughtful? Like, would that make it richer? Like, if they were actually confronting death and like what death means, and not just like, oh shoot, how do we squirm out of this while everybody's partying around the dead body? But like, what does it mean for a man to have died? And I don't know. I kind of like, maybe not, because I feel that plays nicely with the setting and the mode that we're in. And yet it almost feels like it could have amped up the shenanigans more if, like, I don't know, because like when the Gwen character, the woman character, realizes that she's really the only one who we get like a proper reaction, like, oh my god, you're hanging out with a dead person. Like, think about this. You're hanging out with a dead person. I'm glad there was at least one of those. Would it have been better if there was more? I'm not sure. I need to reflect more upon this question.
Yeah, I mean that's something that's kind of like Swiss Army Man, or something that is explored in Swiss Army Man, where you've
Yes.
got the one character who's the protagonist who has developed this deep relationship with the corpse, and then suddenly at the end of the movie, he's in the center of town and everybody sees what he's doing, and they're like, "What the hell, man?"
Like, this is not right. Yeah.
Yeah, that Richie and Larry never have that reckoning.
Right. Only briefly when the woman reacts to it, but then that just gets brushed aside. Weekend at Bernie's 2. Is it good? This one's a trip. If you are just liking the first movie for, hey, that's a funny premise, I I think you have to say it's diminishing returns. I can't see why you would think this movie is better unless you're just like, the wackier the better, and that works for you. And I there's still like a kernel of something here about like the black comedy and how there's an inherent satire in that, but it didn't pop as much for me. I think I'm going to land on a 4, like a probably mid-level 4, not like a almost good. I was engaged because it does wacky stuff. And we got the dancing body, and the voodoo element is kind of tasteless, but this whole endeavor is kind of tasteless. And I don't know. I was engaged the whole time, and I was glad that it just kept going new places, and it saved its biggest punches for the end, because then it's escalating. You're like, oh my god, he's Bernie has a harpoon through his head, and he's pulling a rickshaw, and he's lost control of the rickshaw and crashing through a marketplace. That's where we're at right now, and it's like you got to end on that note, and it ended on that note. So I was grateful for that. I don't know if it's like George of the Jungle 2 levels of, what am I watching right now? Like, why does this exist? But it gets close there. So good-ish, 4 out of 8 for me.
Nice. I couldn't say it any better. I'm like just a hair higher, but for all the same reasons, I'm like on the edge between a 4 and a 5. I think I will go just into 5 good. And it all is that ending. And but it's not unearned. It's like it kind of makes sense that they get there. We're just swinging for the fences and the wackiness, and it ends with the sea chase and the rickshaw, and it there's parasailing where he's flying through the air, and man, they did this, and like they had all those people in that submarine, and wow, and it really looks like a beautiful place to make a movie. So yeah, I mean, if you are watching one, might as well go ahead and watch two. Dan, if there was a Weekend at Bernie's 3, what would it be? What would you put in your Weekend at Bernie's 3?
So, first of all, I have not prepared thoughts about this. Second of all, I kind of alluded to this earlier, and there's like one or two throwaway references to it in the movie, but like more time has passed since death, and so like the body's gonna start decomposing. I don't know if I said one or A, but I'll just say I said one. Two, the body's really getting put through it in this one, getting like banged around and like leg twisted so I could fit in a suitcase and harpoon through his head, getting forced underwater and getting waterlogged and like this body would be worse for wear at this point. Isn't there like a thing at the end also where one of the characters like partially dies and like comes back to life with some of the voodoo magic? Where one of the characters has to admit they're a virgin because you need the blood of a virgin to resuscitate him. This is like another thing that happens in one scene here at the end.
Larry acknowledges that he's a virgin because I guess part of the ticking clock is like Richard drank poison, and so they got to find a way to do the antidote to the poison, and then yeah, they got to have a virgin's blood. And it's ironic, I guess, because Larry is ostensibly the more worldly one.
But let me toss this one at you, Brian. What if Weekend at Bernie's 3, it's Bernie actually does come apart. So we got hands and we got legs and we got a head, like the Iron Giant, you know, when he gets blown up and all his pieces need to come back together. And so now you're doing more like body horror effects with like a hand walking around the street getting in trouble and they're trying to do stuff with the hand. But then I guess you kind of lose. It's no longer Weekend at Bernie's at that point. But maybe like you get like mini gags where like the hand, somebody shakes the hand and doesn't realize that it's like a detached hand or something like that. I don't know. That's
I'm
one
into
idea.
it. I mean, that was basically where my head went to. Is it's got to be a legacy sequel, like all these other legacy sequels, like Top Gun Maverick, but it's Weekend at Bernie's,
Maverick.
25 years later, and just totally desiccated. Nothing is connected anymore. There's maybe a little bit of hair.
Oh, okay. Hold on. What if it flash forwards 25 years and it's kind of like the Kid Detective where he just stayed a Kid Detective his whole life, but it's just like these two guys just kept Weekend at Bernie's in. And we're like, you got to stop hanging out with a dead body. It's been 20 years. It's gross. It's illegal. This is just not right. You got mental health problems at this
What you're
point.
doing is illegal.
Maybe that's what it is.
Well, there you go. We aim to provide some commentary as well as some original ideas here on this podcast. I would watch this film that we're cooking up. So, Dan, what lies ahead of us?
Yeah, so I'm about to head to Italy. And so this is going to be a big vacation with me and my family. I'm going to be gone for like 12 nights or something. So it's going to be a bit of time till we can record. I thought about doing something Italy themed, but by the time we record, I'm going to be back from Italy and burnt out on Italy. So instead, I'm going to do something that is more connected to what we just watched, Weekend at Bernie's. It's not exactly the same thing, but it's also 80s, I believe, possibly even late 80s, like around the same time. It also interacts with death and what happens to the body upon death. And it is a Robert Zemeckis film. It is Death Becomes Her. So we talked a little bit about this when we did our Zemecktrospective, but I thought this would be in some ways a good companion because, again, it's got a handful of similar themes, but coming at it from a totally different angle and even a different production mindset. It's doing more of the Robert Zemeckis gizmos with technology and special effects. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on this one, Brian. Have you seen this one before?
So, I actually did watch this one in the lead up to our Zemeckis episode,
Okay.
but I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm pumped to talk about this one. This is probably an anecdote I should save for next time, but just recently I was talking to my mom and she was describing the plot of a movie and she's like, "Remember when we watched this?" And I was like, what is she talking about?" And It was Used Cars. It was that film that we watched for the podcast. She's like, remember there were
Oh,
twin brothers and they ran like rival car dealerships, and one of them like was on the edge of death, and the helpers had to like, have him do one last like car heist. I was like, what? And then it's like, oh yeah, that was the one where there was like a stampede of 200 cars at the end through the desert. So we really have covered a lot of ground on the podcast. It's getting to the point where I can't remember some of them, I guess, which is, it struck me. It's like, I thought I had a pretty good handle on everything we've watched, but no, it's starting to exceed my memory capacity.
yeah. I was also thinking when I picked this movie, hold on, have we had an episode on this one? Because I know we at least talked about it, or at least I mentioned it, but I decided that we have not committed an episode to Death Becomes Her. So
That's correct.
cool.
All right, well, this is fun, Dan. It's always fun. Always good to talk movies, and thank you, listeners, for tuning in.
Only two this time, not 20.
That's right. It's a breeze. I almost felt bad assigning more than one, but I thought I mean it's like one continuous film, Picks up right where number one left off.
And I just looked it up. It's a 1992 movie, so it's not actually an 80s movie, but that's only 3 years off from Weekend at Bernie's 1, and it's between 1 and 2. So same time frame.
The inter-Bernie era.
That's how we know those, yeah, those years. 89 to 92, 93.
The administration of George H.W. Bush,
The Inter Bernie, yeah.
the Bernie years.
All right.
Okay. Bye everybody.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, listeners. See you next time.